You probably looked at the title of this video and you think it's just going to be a Chris Paul hate video, and you think it's just a knock on Chris Paul, but that's not the case. I'm a decently big Chris Paul fan, and I was sort of rooting for him in the finals. I wanted to see him get a ring so it would add to his legacy, but that didn't happen, and I don't think he's going to make it back to the finals or even the Western Conference Finals. So before I get into that, if you're new to this channel, like and subscribe because it helps me out, and you'll also get more content like the video you're about to see. So now that that's out of the way, let's get on to the video. Chris Paul's coming off of his first finals run where he actually played pretty well. Yeah, he had his fair share of turnovers and bad moments, but he had a really good series. His best game was Game 1, where he had 41 points and he was seemingly in control the entire game. But after Game 1 and 2, the Suns kind of fell apart. They stopped running their game plan, their defense wasn't as effective, and they lost the next 4 games to the Bucks and lost the series. So let's get into what the Suns did this offseason, sort of, and then just talk about why Chris Paul will never make it back to the finals. So the Suns didn't really do much this offseason. They re-signed Chris Paul, 4 years, $120 million, and they re-signed Cameron Payne, which I think is a really good signing because Cameron Payne's a good backup point guard, and Chris Paul can kind of mentor him. I don't think he's your point guard of the future, but he's there for now, and he's been really fun. What else did they do? They signed Landry Shamet. No, they traded for Landry Shamet from the Nets, who's going to provide some backup scoring, which they sort of need, some backup shooting. Not good defensively, but that doesn't matter when you sub him in rotationally pretty well and just let him shoot and knock down some shots. And you also signed JaVale McGee, which is good because Dario Saric is out with an ACL injury. So the Suns didn't really improve that much this offseason. It's good that they retained Chris Paul because he is the guy that got them to the finals in the first place. The young core wouldn't have made the leaps they did without him, and they wouldn't have made it to the finals without him, obviously. And I really believe in this young core, but I don't believe in this team making the finals the next couple of years. So Chris Paul's 36 right now, and I don't think he's going to make it back to the finals because obviously age is a factor. He's 36. He's going to be 37. I don't know when. I think sometime in March or April. But yeah, I mean, you could say he's out of his prime. You could definitely say he's out of his prime, but he's playing like he's kind of in a new prime where he's like really good at controlling the game. He's not as athletic or like scoring in as high of a volume as he used to be. And his stats in the regular season were really weird, but he had a really good impact on the team. And then he scored a higher volume in the playoffs. And in the Nuggets series is a time I can really pinpoint where he played really well and scored at a high volume. But yeah, Chris Paul's in a weird leg of his career. These next 4 years are probably his last 4 years. I don't think he plays past 40. And yeah, if we want to talk about what he did poorly in the finals, in Game 4, he only had 10 points. He had a late game turnover. The main thing was from him is we saw a lot of turnovers in the final series because, I mean, he was exhausted. He's 36. He doesn't have fresh legs anymore. And I mean, that issue is just going to get a little worse. And the West has only gotten better from last year. We all know injuries were a big part of the playoffs last year. I think the Lakers would have won that series if they were fully healthy because LeBron was dealing with an ankle injury. Anthony Davis dealt with the groin injury when the series was tied. Was it tied 2-2? When the series was tied 2-2, I think Anthony Davis went out with the groin injury, and I think they would have won that series. And the Lakers are literally so much better than they were last year. They have the deepest team I have ever seen. Do you want to talk about a 13-man roster that has 13 people that you can rely on and trust? That is the Lakers. I don't want to name all 13 people, but they signed people. They're about to get Rajon Rondo. That's a new thing, so that's like the 13th guy. But they have Rondo. They have Carmelo Anthony. They have Trevor Ariza, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn, Wayne Ellington. They have LeBron, obviously, Anthony Davis. They have Dwight Howard. They signed Dwight Howard. Just a really good team overall. I mean, yeah, you can talk about how these players are going to get injured. But I think the Lakers organization is smart enough to where they can save these people for the playoffs, which is when they're going to be really effective because they've been in these scenarios a good amount of time. Oh my God, I forgot about Russell Westbrook. Wow. Yeah, the Lakers have Russell Westbrook as well. I completely forgot about that. But like, yeah, LeBron, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and everyone else I just mentioned. This team is primed for a playoff series, and I don't see the Suns even coming close to being better than them. And I mean, it went to 6 with injuries and without the team the Lakers have now. And the Lakers just got so much better this offseason, and they are so deep, and they are so primed for a playoff series, and the Suns will not be able to take them on. Another team that I think is better than the Suns is the Jazz. The Jazz already finished with the first seed last year, and they're running it back with pretty much better depth. They signed Eric Paschall, They signed Rudy Gay and they signed Hassan Whiteside. The Hassan Whiteside pickup's a little iffy. He's kind of traveled around the league a lot recently, but like, I don't know, he's a solid backup 5 for you. But yeah, Eric Paschall, power forward center. He can kind of help you run small ball a little bit if you need to, because that was a big problem against the Clippers. And you also have Rudy Gay, who I guess you can run at the backup 5. Rudy Gay is a really solid person off the bench. He replaces Georges Niang or whatever his name is. He was their backup forward, and Rudy Gay is obviously a significant upgrade from him. The Jazz pretty much are going to have one of the best defenses in the league next year, like they did last year. The Suns have a really good defense too, but I think the Jazz's defense is better. You brought back pretty much everyone, and I think what a lot of people forget is last year Mike Conley was out for the first 5 games of the Clippers series, and that series would go a different way if you had Conley shooting, his playmaking, and everything he brings to the table. He's like I think he's 32 or 33, but he's a veteran, and he really helps with this group. He's helped ever since he came to the Jazz to help develop Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and that team around him. So yeah, I mean, that was a pretty key piece in the Clippers series. And this team's coming back with better depth. You've got Donovan Mitchell, who's a really effective scorer, effective with Rudy Gobert in the pick and roll. You've got Rudy Gobert, who needs to have a better season, but I'm still decently high on him. Really good defensively, can guard anyone inside. Can't guard the perimeter with small ball, but that's what you get these people for, and that's what you improve your depth for. You have some of the best bench players in the league. You got Jordan Clarkson's a really high-volume scorer. When you need him or someone's injured, he can step up really well. Bojan's a really good shooter. Yeah, the Jazz are just a really good team that I don't see the Suns being better than. If Chris Paul gets injured this season, that's going to be a big issue for the Suns, and I don't think they're going to be able to finish as high as they did. Chris Paul does have an injury history where he seemingly just gets injured in the playoffs, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I mean, if he gets injured this season, it's going to be hard for the Suns to remain like decently high in the standings, which means they'd have to play a better team. But, I mean, let's hope he stays healthy because it's better for the league. And the Suns do have a really good young core. That's off topic. Let's talk about the next team that could be better. I also think the Clippers could be better than the Suns if they're fully healthy. It went 6 games with Kawhi out the entire time. Paul George played really well in the Western Conference Finals series. I could say the Clippers got a little better. You've got Eric Bledsoe, who can fill in for some of Kawhi's scoring. They gave up Rajon Rondo and they gave up Patrick Beverley to get Eric Bledsoe. But, I mean, yeah, you got Eric Bledsoe who can score decently well. He's a really good one-on-one defender on ball. He helps. I think he fits the Clippers pretty well. He's got to shoot a little bit better and be a little less inconsistent. But, yeah, I think he's a good pickup for that team. You've got Paul George, who's really good. Reggie Jackson, who stepped up a ton. And I don't know. They brought the Suns to 6 without Kawhi. And if Kawhi's back for the playoffs and they match up, I think the Clippers could win that series. I'm not saying this one's a guarantee, but I think the Jazz and the Lakers are 100% a guarantee, but I don't think the Clippers are a guarantee. This argument's a little harder to be made, but I mean, the Clippers brought them to 6 without Kawhi. Kawhi's going to be back for the playoffs, hopefully. So, yeah, and I mean, Chris Paul's getting older on the Suns. The young core gets a lot better every year, but yeah. 2 arguments I could make if I really wanted to make. You could say if the Warriors make a trade for someone like Beal, they could be better than the Suns, but I don't want to make that argument because it's hypothetical. And you could also make the argument that the Nuggets are better than the Suns, but the Suns swept them. They didn't really show me anything impressive in the playoffs. So, yeah, the Suns are better than the Nuggets, especially with Murray out for most of the year. Yeah, I really like this Suns team. I really like Chris Paul. But I just think the West has gotten a lot better. Chris Paul's getting a lot older. The East has gotten a lot better, too. I don't think he could win the finals, obviously. I don't think he could make the finals. And if I want to go really far, I can say I don't think he'll make the Western Conference Finals. He's going to be fun to watch. The Suns team is a contender, and I think, obviously, they could prove me wrong like any offseason video I make. Like, if I'm critical of someone, they can prove me wrong. And I hope people prove me wrong because it's fun for basketball. But yeah, I really like the Suns' young core. They're going to continue to get better, and I think they're set up well for when Chris Paul leaves. But yeah, I think some of the young core is going to make more of a leap next year, but I just don't see them being better than the teams I mentioned. Yeah, that's it for the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. I'm out.